The views and opinions expressed by the guests of Sasquatch Experience do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the hosts, sponsors, or affiliates of the Sasquatch Experience. As always, listener discretion is advised.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Does a legend walk among us, lurking in the forests of our world?
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something that looks like a man. I don't know what it was.
For over 15 years, we've talked with scientists, researchers, investigators, and witnesses, trying to gain insight and proof around the existence of this mysterious entity.
Jesus Christ, you better... Tia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Join us as we continue into the investigation of the Sasquatch Experience.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sasquatch Experience. I'm Sean Forker. That's Henry May. That's Matt Arner. Two of our co-hosts are missing in action tonight, and so is our guest, but that's okay. We didn't get a confirmation on the guest, and they were in the middle of the move, so we can reschedule them if need be. All I know is not entirely their fault, and it looks like we have the rest of them popping in as we go along. Vance Nesbitt.
Yay.
Jimmy James Baker.
Hey,
yo! I feel the enthusiasm amongst us
right.
as we gear up.
My kitchen
for as we gear up for the biggest event of the summer for us crypto enthusiasts, Small Town Monsters, Monster Fest 2, and it's going to be a great weekend, guys. I'm stoked for it. Matt Baker and I will be there in full force. We're going to be there Friday, Saturday. Live podcast at 3:00 for anybody that wants to come by. We will provide complimentary tomatoes, but try not to squish them because we'll be collecting them to turn them into sauce a little later. Figure everybody else is coming out with a Sasquatch themed sauce and they're all doing barbecue. Why don't we do spaghetti?
Sounds
That's
like
a great idea. I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So the previously thrown tomatoes and Vance's palm.
Hey,
With all this,
got my poem.
with all this heat lately, I've been making my own sauce.
That's disgusting. Anyhow, I don't
That'll
even.
be
What?
And for
$2
as little
jar.
as $2 a month, you can avoid that sauce and become a Patreon for the show. So there we have it.
Sean,
Yeah.
if I can just interject really quick, we talked about
Jump
some
in,
of the
buddy.
stuff that's going on at Monster Fest. However, we may be doing another episode for the Patreon, a big rubbing.
Yes. Yeah, big grubbing.
Yes.
If you're not
We
if you're
found-
not on the Patreon, do it. For $2, you get to watch Matt and I eat.
Yeah.
It is.
No,
it
we
is
are
awesome.
we're going back to that burger place. We got Larry is going to be coming with us. We got maybe a few others. And it's going to be a good episode for that.
At George's, right? That's the name of the place.
Yes.
But we're not
Try
going to give out
kill
the
Stan Gordon.
Yeah, we'll try not to kill Stan Gordon and his friend
Yes,
this
that's
year.
Yes.
Our executive producer, Brian Corbin, the best $2 you'll ever spend.
Oh.
That's saying a lot. We appreciate that, Brian. Our executive
thanks,
producer
Brian.
over there. He doesn't get paid to say that. He just says it because it's an all-around nice guy. Little roll call in there. We got Mike Ann joining us tonight. Of course, our friend, Tactical Mike. Matt and I enjoy spending time in the field, but it never seems like we get enough time in the field with Mike. It goes so quickly.
Yeah,
Charlotte
definitely. We do have to get Mike, and you know what? He's not that far from us. So I think he was saying, with our research area, maybe like a 2-hour drive. So, we definitely have to get Mike back in.
Brian saying he does get paid to say that makes us, okay.
Yeah, I pay him.
How much do I pay him? I forget.
He gets paid in that swamp juice.
No, that's foul. Now we just lost a Patreon.
Oh no.
Guys, heat wave crippling us all this past week and to the weekend. Henry's feeling the effects of it right now as he's in an extreme heat warning. Henry's not in extreme heat. He's in an extreme heat warning. Just to clarify that verbal barrage you got there. Live show is going to be interesting this Saturday. We're going to talk about a classic Bigfoot sighting that Matt and Bake, you guys probably haven't heard of or aren't too familiar with. We're going to read it live. We're going to get your reaction. We're going to get the reaction of the audience. A little different than what we had originally planned for, but I think this is still going to be a great show. And whenever we can revisit some historical information, the audience likes it. We go back, we look at the past couple episodes we've done. The Siege of Hanabi has been a successful episode. We got a lot of commentary about that, and folks want to follow up. So, we aim to please. We'll try to get a follow up on there.
I want to follow up too, though, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, Vance. You and I want to do an in-person follow up. Was the real deal,
right?
Like, there's so much to that story left on the floor. I think so much of it that we don't. It just everything just disappeared and dried up.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I do want to do a follow-up on it, because there may be a reason why it kind of slowed down and dried up. Whether these things said, okay, we've had enough of this conflict, we're going to move on and stay away from this area because of this boomsticks. I don't know. I have no idea, but let's follow up on it.
Or it could be the Carol Ann thing. They moved away, therefore there was no whatever was triggering that thing stopped. And we had so many questions like, did the people own the before? Were they avid hunters that put deer out so they could say, ooh, buffet? There's so many random things that could have caused that. Like, for instance, I saw 3 deer on my land, and I know I'm growing more crops. I know I'm doing different things. I'm seeing more animals. I'm seeing more sign of animals because I'm changing their environment. Maybe the people who moved in afterwards, or is the place blank now? Maybe you don't see things because there's nobody A to see, or B, whatever was triggering him. Maybe his mom perfume smelled like swamp ass and they wanted some. I don't know.
Wow.
Wow. It could be, but the problem is when we talk about a creature we don't know a lot about, anything could trigger that need.
Right.
And it only got really, really defensive and angry when they got more defensive and angry. Before it was more exploration and what's that over there? And hey, free buffet. And then it was like, they shooting at us. And so, sorry, it's the South. But what do you do?
Yeah, but with all things considered, guys, the Siege of Zenobia really didn't happen all that long ago. We're not talking 100 years ago. We're talking in, relative modern history. And I think we might be able to get a shovel out, dig into, reasons why this happened and why things just kind of subsided the way they did. And maybe have a good analogy is to say, well, this is probably the most likely thing that happened, but it's a fantastic story, and I would like to dig into it a lot more.
Yeah, we got to devote 45 minutes to the story, which just didn't seem enough. Yeah, someone's got a phone call coming in.
That wasn't me.
Was that you, Henry? You got a special call coming in for you?
No, not me.
The May signal?
A what?
The May signal.
The May signal.
It's like a ham and a tornado picture.
Hell,
I don't know.
We need to get to Oklahoma. I think at some point in the next year or two. to find it, Vance. I know it's going to be a little. We've talked about putting together expeditions to go out and go to these areas that we've talked about to see if there's anything new going on, and if that area was as active as it was in the early 2000s,
right,
and it was enough to run these people out. Is that activity still on? Activity, not activity.
It might be. Who knows?
That activity still going? But then you go and listen to all these stories. I was listening to a big episode of Bigfoot Crossroads. Matt Knapp, our one of our good friends that we do a lot of commingling with. He had Bob Strain on not long ago, and they were talking about Area X in Oklahoma. Probably not as far from Hanabi as we think it is. In that area, crazy with activity. And I don't know if any of you guys have really dove into that, but there's I'm going to butcher it every time I say it. Is it the Ouachita Mountains down there?
Ouachita, yep.
Ouachita Mountains. And the activity going on. And they wrote the Ouachita monograph over at woodape.org. You can go check it out. And they, talk about the different experiments they conducted down there. And then what was it, Matt? Tag 7.
I believe so, yes.
This little tag that I think they fashioned into the size of a burl, and it attached itself to what they believed to be a Sasquatch and followed its movements. And if they got, I believe it was a radio tag. So it was limited. It wasn't GPS, it was radio. And the reason why they went with a radio tag is because the size of it was smaller than you could do with GPS at the time.
Right.
So I listened to that whole episode with Bob. It's a great episode, guys. In fact, listeners, I encourage you to go check it out. Bigfoot Crossroads with Matt Knapp and Bob Strain. And Matt's got a lot of good episodes, but that one was just topical because of our relationship and how we were doing with the Siege of Hanabi. Brian puts in the chat, Michael Mays has an excellent book on Area X. Yeah, we do need to get we need to get Mike Mays on the show to talk about those. Henry, are you familiar with that book?
I am. I have read that book. It's a good book about Area
X. What's your takeaways from that? What's a takeaway from that you can share with the audience in relationship to what we've been talking about?
Well, there was freak activity there from what they said. There were several experiences, sightings, banging on the side of the cabins and things of that nature, rocks being thrown.
Right. Heavy rock throwing they discussed there. I'm going to butcher this, and I really want you folks to go to that episode and check it out. But they were using like a blind to set in, and when they would set in this blind, the creatures wouldn't show up. When they weren't in the blind, it would. And it's like they could almost see in a different spectrum to be able to see through that fabric that we were there or the people were there. I might have butchered that, but I found that to be quite fascinating. If that's the case, because, we do take for granted that because we're primates, that we see what we see is what every other one does. Right. What if that's not the case? And they do have that ability to see in a spectrum that we can't. And of course, there are people that are going, oh, here we go into the woo. That doesn't have to be woo. Right. That could just be biological necessity needed for them to survive. The only thing that makes it woo is if we say they start shooting laser beams out of them. That makes it woo.
That's true.
But go ahead. But it could be an alternate theory. Maybe they're smart enough to realize the blind means hiding danger, or that's where ducks die. Like maybe that image is imprinted in them because they've seen people shoot from a blind and go, okay, the other primates that wear clothes are in there. Maybe we should back away because that's usually when a bear or deer or some duck or whatever die. And then when they're out, they're like, oh, okay, they're out there mowing their lawn. We can wander around now. Because I know I use my land as a reference a lot, but a lot of times, like when I'm doing something in the shed, the deer hide. I'm out there mowing the lawn. The one was out in the field just grazing and staring at me, and I'm mowing. I've got a lawnmower in my hand that could hurt them. Compared to when I was in the shed, I looked out the window and they were all crouching down trying to figure out where I was. Compared to when I was in open sight, they were like oh, he's not dangerous anymore.
Right.
So maybe there's some kind of inference.
I think as soon as you brought that up, I was thinking about, and I've read Valley of the Apes. It's a great, great book. And the one thing is the approach that NAWAC had in regards to researching out there was taking, and I'm going to use this word, a very tactical approach. And I think what happened was, whatever they were researching was basically mirroring that in itself. So they know if there's going to be a person that's sitting in a blind, who has the advantage? Is it the animal that's behind the tree that has to cross an open field to get to the other side, or is it the small hairless primate that's sitting in a blind where something could actually go and harm them? So I think on both sides, it's almost like a tactical chess that they're playing. And that's point, a lot from what I got from Valley of the Apes. It was basically a chess match. They would have these sightings when they were out, if they were out by themselves. There was a lot of them when they were down by the stream, crossing the stream, and then they would just happen to see that quick glimpse of something. There, who has the tactical advantage? It's going to be the Bigfoot. But and then when they're in the houses or in the cabins there or in the tents, they're getting rocks thrown at them and everything. Well, who's at the advantage there? Because they're locked up. They really can't, unless they're putting the gun out the window. They're not really doing too much.
Right.
So. Yeah, that's a great point.
Oh. Sean, I want to throw something in that we have gotten, and thanks to you for posting that, some feedback from listeners. And one of our listeners that enjoyed the show brought up the nesting site, and we haven't seen any pictures of the nesting site. I would like to refer them over to Small Town Monsters, and they can find that on YouTube, and just look up Small Town Monsters, the nesting site. You'll be able to get more of an imagery of what these sites do look like. I know that threw us a little bit off topic, but I wanted to bring that up to our listener that was curious to know what these nesting sites look like.
Yeah, 100%. Go ahead, Vic.
And if you'd like to meet the Small Town Monsters, this weekend would be the weekend.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Another shameless plug.
We're going to be.
No, I love them.
So to go.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, to go back to the Hinobia situation, and now, did that family, did they move out and somebody else is on that property, or we don't know?
So the last I heard is the family's gone.
Okay.
They moved out.
Okay.
But there's been no anything reported from there publicly that the rest of us know since that family left.
Right. But did the family disappear completely because the father owned 10 acres that abutted it? At least if I remember the story properly.
We never got any information about anything happening on the father's land.
Right.
The fatherland.
The fatherland. Go ahead, Matt. Continue on with your thought.
So, anyways, and again, I'm not getting into the woo side, but I have a lot of friends of mine that are paranormal investigators, and a lot of them listen to the show. Like my friend Carlene from the Pocono Paranormal Society and a few other groups. But the one thing is from when I talked about the differences between the Bigfoot and the paranormal, you have a haunted house, and if somebody lives in that house, and oh my God, everything's moving. They're seeing apparitions. They're hearing footsteps all the time and everything. And then for whatever reason, that person has to move. Then you get person B that moves in there, and I've seen this actually with the case that wasn't that far from here, where the person they were just stubborn and they did not believe in this stuff, and they wrote everything off that was happening. Like the ghost could just
things were still happening
like that. Well, you know what? To him, he didn't believe in ghosts. He didn't believe in anything, and as far as everyone was concerned, nothing was happening in that house. Mm-hmm. But then when that person moved and then person C moves in, they're like, oh my God, there's all sorts of stuff happening. So again, I'm not trying to tie into woo here, but what I'm saying is that there's maybe a correlation in that you have somebody that's actively looking for Bigfoot on their property or adjacent property, and they have all these experiences. Person B moves in, and maybe they're not going into the wood line. Maybe they're just going there. They're cutting their hay or planting their crops, going back in. They hear weird noises. They hear bumps against the house. They don't care. They live in the woods. It could be anything. Yeah, and they just ignore it. Right. And then, person C may come in, 20 years later and say, oh my God, there's a whole nest of Bigfoots out here,
Right.
We don't, I think that's part of it is you may get, a property owner, you may get a resident there that just, really doesn't, whether they believe in it or not, maybe they just let the stuff happen and, they write off as, because again, they live in the woods.
Well, I do know, a small handful of people that have that personality, Matt, that you brought up. Mm-hmm. They write something off that is kind of strange, but they just write it off and they ignore it.
Yep.
Where there's other people that go, clearly there's a bizarre handprint that slapped on the side of my house and I took a picture of it, where there's others that are like, and they just ignore it. Yep. And it's just personalities. We all have different personalities. Some of us are more in tune with, the things that go on around us. And then there's others that are just not.
Yep.
And that may very well be the circumstance what happened in Hanobi. In case somebody else moved into that property, they may just ignore all of it. And the more they ignore it,
yes,
the less activity comes about it.
The less
because they're not getting the attention that they're looking for.
Well, I think somebody, it was a great question that was brought up. Does the interest fade or does the activity fade? I don't think the activity fades.
Mm-hmm.
I think the activity's still there. It's just that the people that are there, you need a witness, or a person to witness the encounter. You need, obviously the creature to have the encounter. But if you have a witness that, again, all this stuff, they may be just as active as they were with the original family, but to the other person, to the next person, again, they may say, okay, you know what, it's probably just, those woodnuts are probably woodpeckers, or,
right.
Something bumping up, and maybe it's a feral hog that's coming through here. So I think the activity is still there, and the activity may even escalate at some points, but a blind person's not going to, really, look at it. They're just going to.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
Or whatever triggered the activity. Like we go back to the whole conversation about something about the family or something about the family was doing. I always call it the Carol Ann effect. But the fact is that whatever it is that caused that extended activity, when they went away, the creatures moved on. Because clearly they weren't bothering the father that was 10 acres away,
right,
and the son. But when he brought his family home, and then, because I'm assuming the son didn't just learn to hunt overnight. Oh, hey, I'm moving over here now. I'm going to shoot more deer. You know what I mean? Like there's so many little triggers. But here's the thing: is like we always talk about bears, and we use different animals as a reasonable creature that we can assess might be the same. And if a bear has a 50-mile range or more, maybe these have a 50-mile range, and they're like, okay, that house is empty now. We can stop bothering them because, one, either they're not interesting, or two, they don't seem a threat, or three, what's the point? You know what I mean? At this point, we won. We won. Why push the nozzle? So they move on to the next guy that's 100 miles away and start bugging his sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
As soon as you brought that up, though, I'm kind of thinking of, I'm thinking about their reactions, having all the activity where they started, they started firing rounds into the wood line, they were throwing quarter sticks. Probably they were probably doing every single thing
Poking
they
the
could.
bear.
Yeah, and you know what? Like it makes me think of kids, like teenagers, young teenagers.
Get off my lawn.
The kid's going up, like ringing the bell, running away,
Right.
throwing the flaming bag of poop on the porch. None of us ever did that, but you're only going to do that to try to get a rise. Try to get some sort of reaction from somebody. You're not going to do it to the person that's not going to come out.
Right.
They're going to do it to the person that's going to, like James said, get off my lawn. Which is basically what the landowner was basically giving them was that attitude. They were probably getting some sort of reaction from it, and they kept it up, and then after they probably had a little bit of a truce and walked away.
Right, true. And another thing that I would like to throw into it is that what happened at Honobia, that's not the only place in Oklahoma where there have been sightings and reports of aggressive behavior. This is just one report out of, I think, 100 different reports that happened in eastern and southeastern Oklahoma. So there's got to be a correlation of something that's been going on there.
Right. And that's where we come down to the core of asking additional questions. And we look at what the differentials are. The problem is with a lot of these sightings is you can't live in their world or live in their life when it happens. It's kind of like, Matt, you've studied crime scenes. Mm-hmm. You would have had a better idea what went on if you were a victim. Sorry, but compared to you're guesstimating with your existing knowledge and existing sciences to say this is what might have and pretty 90% could have happened. Mm-hmm. But unless you have a direct witness,
correct,
you're basically guesstimating enough to convict.
Yes. It's circumstantial.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. But yeah,
I was enjoying that conversation. Keep it going, guys.
Yeah,
it was great.
I was going to say though, another point that was brought up is, I can't recall who I was talking to, but they were upset because they most of the encounters that people have with Sasquatch don't appear to be that the people are in any danger, other than for sometimes they're escorted out of areas, and we hear about those reports all the time.
Like the water company.
Yeah, but it seems like down in that Texas, Oklahoma area, for whatever reason, they have that. I won't really call it that they're like super aggressive, that they're going to really kill somebody. But holy cow, they throw rocks all the time. That's all you hear about. Like up here, we've had reports of people hearing rocks being flown over them, or maybe a rock hits a tent. These are like little pebbles. Down there, man, they're throwing like baseball, like cannonball sized rocks to people. So yeah. Don't get into a rock fight with a Bigfoot.
Well, and I've always taken at least the avenue that it seems like the southern United States Bigfoot reports from Florida, Texarkana, even into Texas, in the Sam Houston, they seem so much more aggressive.
Moonshine.
Far more aggressive than those in the Pacific Northwest, where, there'll be a little bit, but it seems like these creatures and the reports that come out of these areas from Florida, like I just mentioned, seem so far more aggressive, but yet they're not as big.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure. Maybe you have to be more aggressive because you're not, 10 feet and 12 feet tall. I don't know.
So you think it's a Chihuahua effect? Because it's smaller, they're angrier.
That's a great point. Yeah.
They quiver and they get all angry and they bite you more.
Yeah. That's a great point.
These theories out of your ass.
But that's a good point.
What's the point?
No. I try to make them so that the average person can look right in because they know.
I like that point. It's a Chihuahua effect. Yeah,
the escalation due to interest factor is the other one tonight.
Yeah,
So
right.
we got a couple bakerisms in there, folks. We do have to take our mid-show break. Catch us back here. Smoke one if you got one. We'll see you shortly.
Sasquatch is coming to downtown Canton, Ohio on June 28th and 29th for Monster Fest 2. Small Town Monsters is back for our second annual event, and this year we're pulling out all the stops. See the premiere of Cursed Waters, Creature of Lake Okanagan at the Canton Palace Theater on June 28th, and then join us at the Hilton Doubletree on June 29th for vendors, speakers, workshops, film screenings, and much more. Meet Seth Breedlove and the rest of the Small Town Monsters crew, as well as our amazing lineup of guests, including Amy Boo, Lyle Blackburn, Sheena Steingass, Ken Gerhardt, Astonishing Legends, Jim Harold, Jeremiah Byron, Sean Forker, and many more. And introducing our very special 2024 Guests of Honor, pioneer of Sasquatch research and Ohio legend, Mr. Don Keating. Monster Fest 2, June 28th and 29th, Canton, Ohio. Be there. Tickets available at stnmonsterfest.com.
News team, assemble! All right, kids, look at the diagram. Check this out. A long, long time ago, all of us in here used to be monkeys, right? Then we turned into this Chewbacca circus carnival freak show looking thing, but now we're all people. Next chapter, move on, no questions. Well, guess what? I had questions. How come monkeys are the only animals that were ever allowed to turn into people? Yeah. How come there's no two-legged giraffe with a short neck walking around vaping? Because it ain't real.
Ah, yes. And that argument continues for your weekly chuckle. But I do agree with that opinion. Well, happy Monday night to you all. Right here on the Bigfoot Bullhorn, exclusively on the Sasquatch Experience. And speaking of large erect things, Baker, keep your mouth shut. Another monolith is, I'm doing air quotes with my fingers, another monolith is discovered outside of Las Vegas, Nevada on a hiking trail. I got a couple questions there. What rich guy is chartering a helicopter to fly out there? Now, why I say helicopter is because here's the irony. You charter a helicopter, you fly this goofy-looking monolithic reflective thing out to the middle of bizarre places and remote areas and put it on the ground. And, of course, investigators go out there and say, we can't find any footprints. No, there's no trace, no footprints. It's off a hiking trail. Go figure. But here's the irony. Here's something that's standing there, visible for all to see, with no footprints. And here in our community, we find footprints, but can't find the monolith standing there in the woods. I don't know. You tell me what you make of this whole thing, because I believe this is, 8 or 9 times now around the world that these things are showing up. And I know there's the communities that say, it's aliens from another world. It's aliens from under the ocean. Who knows? I can't answer the question. I just found it rather peculiar that these unique structures are just showing up in places, and the first thing noted is, there's no footprints. What? Anyway, speaking of footprints, going back just a couple of months ago, at the end of April, actually, out of the state of Texas, at the Red River County. Boy, isn't that descriptive. The nearest town is Bogota. But the observer that made this report on the BFRO states the following. I leased some land near the South Sulphur River in far south Red River County. I just want to be descriptive and slow down for some that are taking notes. I went to check on my cows Tuesday, and just inside my gate, I saw a track made by something heavy enough to leave a clear imprint in gravel and mixed soil. There is no logical reason someone would be barefoot back there. It is a very secluded, and only 4 or 5 people have easement to drive through there. Now, a BFRO researcher did go to the area, and this is what was posted. The witness and I discussed these prints and the property. He stated there are only 3 people that actually walk on this property and that the gates are locked. The town of Bogota is surrounded by agriculture, which produces thousands of bales of cotton annually, together with large crops of corn and other feed for cattle. Now, taking a look at these prints, and they'll be posted up on the Sasquatch Experience, there's a $10 bill in size comparison. It is not an enormous footprint, but I'm not a Cliff Barrickman or a Dr. Meldrum or a Will Jevning to say, yeah, that's definitely a big footprint. I'm not an expert, but definitely looks peculiar, especially in the substrate in which that print was found. And looking at the photograph, yeah, something pretty heavy would have made that deep of an imprint. But like I said, the footprint is not that long. Anyway, when we come back, we'll figure out something to talk about on the Bullhorn. Stick around.
You're listening to the Bigfoot Bullhorn right here on the Sasquatch Experience.
Hey, so if I sound familiar, it's 'cause it's me, Vance, from the Sasquatch Experience. And all of us would love you deeply if you would stop by Squatch Pro Shop and get yourself a Sasquatch Experience t-shirt of vintage times gone by or a new print style. And while you're there, check out the Yeti Company tumbler mug with the official Sasquatch Experience logo laser etched not only on one side, but on both. Buy one mug for the price of 2 and receive the second mug absolutely free. Just visit SasquatchExperience.com and visit Squatch Pro Shop. Thank you. And if there hasn't been enough shameless plugs already, it's Monster Fest 2, presented by Small Town Monsters, coming up this week. June 29th is going to be in downtown Canton, Ohio, at the Doubletree by Hilton. But on Friday, there's going to be a presentation with a Small Town Monsters panel at the Canton Palace Theater. This is back by popular demand. June 28th and 29th. Come visit half the Sasquatch Experience crew and, of course, get an autograph. Thanks again for listening to this edition of the Bigfoot Bullhorn right here on the Sasquatch Experience. And as always,
Until we meet again,
keep your toes in the mud.
And we're back from the break. Vance, thank you. And I think we've plugged Small Town Monsters Fest quite a bit.
Yeah, that's all right.
But if our
Plug in
listeners
anymore, we better get dinner.
if we, I hope the listeners understand how excited we are about it. We really are. However, but there is another couple events that we do have coming up.
Yep.
There is the Bigfoot Adventure, Camping Adventure, that's going on September 6th through 7th in Farmington, Pennsylvania, hosted by the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society. That is pacampingadventure.com. There's no weekend on that. Apparently, that's something I added and made up on my own. So we did want to make sure that we get that clarified for the listeners. pacampingadventure.com. That's why we don't do the live.
Fantastic. That's going to be a fantastic event.
It's going to be a weekend, though. It's just not part of the name.
That is going to be a weekend. It's just not part of the name.
Yep.
there are Bigfoot adventure weekends happening all over the place. We're just trying not to, oversaturate.
Don't worry. We'll climb all over them as the weeks get closer.
That's right. We'll get it straightened out. James Baker points over the break. Never garden on government land. They try to put you down, or they follow you for 13.5 miles in an unmarked white van in the middle of the night, and you think you're.
It was so weird to be followed by a white van,
Yeah, normally it's the other way around. But we were followed.
Usually we're driving.
Yes. That was quite the experience, folks. And it only happens to us.
If you see us live, ask us a random question. We will be happy to answer it, and we'll give you what story we got.
We'll probably have a story about it.
And I'm sorry for that now.
Yeah, Bake and I have been up and down the roads for almost 20 years as partners in this wild and crazy field. Been to many conferences. In fact, many times we've been asked, when are you guys going to do a show just about your conference experiences? And the answer to that is, there's too many other people that can be implicated in our shenanigans that we don't want to be responsible for the ruination of any marriages.
Yeah,
we don't want to be responsible for having to testify to any paternity tests or court cases, and
like
we just don't, or indictments to be rolled out. That's why.
Like that time I almost got us thrown off the Mothman the Mothman band because he just wouldn't shut up because the guy just fucked his job.
Yeah, we almost got thrown off the tour bus in the TNT area because the guy was really bad at giving the tour, and Baker was heckling him and making factually accurate statements, but nonetheless did not make for a good time for everybody.
Or when Steve Coles tried to hit us with a tractor.
Okay, listen, we might have deserved that.
That's a whole different show altogether.
Or the time we almost killed Stan Gordon. That's
oh my God! The time I made people get away from Josh Gates, or the time I made people get away from
that could be a book in itself. So I mean, we got stories, guys. We've been wrapping Matt into some of these adventures. Vance. The goal is next year to get everybody at an event.
Yeah.
And if we can't, we are going to have a cardboard cutout of Henry May where folks can come and take pictures.
Yeah.
$2. You can take a photo with Henry, live or plastic.
Yep. Yes, because once again, Henry, the groupies that showed up for you, that just blew our mind.
Blower.
That blew our mind. It was like, oh, are you Henry? No, you're not Henry. Where's Henry? Yeah, oh, okay. We'll have a cutout of Henry if he can't make it, and you can have your picture of you smooching his cheek, and we'll post those.
We're making them blush, guys. We're making them blush. Anyhow,
that's okay.
Folks, follow us on our social media here. We haven't done enough plugging about where you can find us at. You can find us at Sasquatch Experience on Facebook, Instagram, Squatch EXP on Twitter. And, of course, you can find us all around in our own particular social medias, which you can find by going to the Sasquatch Experience on those said social media platforms. Guys, we were supposed to have a guest tonight. That didn't pan out. So we are a little underprepared. We apologize. But, sometimes we need to go off the cuff because we got a great event coming up, and we're busting at the seams to get on the road. We only have a couple days left of the work week before we're hitting the highway and getting out to where we could be with the people. Go ahead, Bake. You're chomping at the bit. I see your hand.
Some high points of that event is Ken Gerhardt and Lyle Blackburn in the same room. So you can prove that's not the same man in the same hat. And you might be able to get a picture with both.
And they'll swap hats with each other, and you won't know the difference.
I've had multiple encounters with Lyle, not the way you're thinking, but he is a good man, and you ask him questions, he's great at it. I also want to mention the fact that it's not just about the monsters. When you go to these events, there's some really good art. Eric will be there with some of his paintings and also his shirts. I'm hoping the beef jerky guy lets me in charge for another 30 minutes because that was amazing. I got to taste him all. Screw him. He was stupid enough to let me in charge. Kings may be there, I believe. I know that Snuffy Destano and his Cheryl will be there to stop him out.
Chainsaw, he's going to be outside. He's going to be chainsawing Bigfoot.
Oh my God, he's going to have the saw?
I believe so. The saw is family. And as much as these things are a conference and a chance for us to connect, they are a little bit of a family reunion, as we don't get to be with each other nearly as much.
Because if you get a chance to go to a chainsaw event, it is worth your time. I'll tell you what, just to watch some of the art that somebody can make with that, just amazing. And he can do some amazing things. His birthday is next month, so if you get a chance to get on his site, wish him happy birthday. I believe it's around the 7th of July.
Look at Baker. He's just run. I'm going to take the night off. Bake, you run with it.
There you go.
I'm good. And the thing is that what I love about Small Town Monster Fest is they're good people that put on a good show, and they want you to ask them questions. They want you to see what they're doing. And a lot of the headliners are great, but the nice thing is that it's a medium headliner group where you've got a lot of people that you can learn a lot from, but no one there is afraid to have a conversation with you. It's kind of why I was like going into OBC, was because we talked to people that I never thought I would ever meet. Bob Gimlin. I'm like, no way. He's like the guy. I never thought I'd meet Jeff Muldrum, Cliff Berman, but yet the conversations I have with them after the events and during the events are all worth it. And the thing is like they're down to earth, regular people. They just want to be, and I would say, people would say to me, and they come over to me and go, so you was Sean Fulca. Most of them have an English accent. I don't know why he's big on the English people. I don't get it, but they love him. Okay, they love him more than Peter Tork. Okay, but the thing is like, and he always goes, and then they go over to Sean and go, where's that Baker? Well, I'm right behind you. You don't, There's going to be a lot of entertainment on the inside and the outside of the event. Take your time, wander around. There's so many great places to go. But do me a small favor. If you don't walk very far, the theater is farther than you think from the hotel. It is a mirage, because we kept thinking, it's like 3 blocks away. No, that's not the theater. Oh, it's 3 blocks. No, that's not the theater. Damn it.
And that's how we almost killed Stan Gordon.
Yes.
So we love you, Stan. And if your dinner plans break down this year, you come over to our table. You always welcome.
Yeah, we're a welcoming group. I think, Matt, you were just on a podcast, and Matt, you always humble me when you tell that story about how we just kind of said, hey, I'm Sean, come hang out with us.
Absolutely.
Matt, that's the real deal. We're really that way. Yep. And for any of our listeners out there, we're just people. We just happen to put the money into a podcast. Nobody pays us for this. We pay to do this. So we do this to have a good time because we're fans too. Right. And we want to hang out with people that enjoy what we enjoy, and they have a passion for it. And we're a welcoming group. If you have nowhere else to go, come hang out with us. We won't kick you away unless you annoy us. Then it
might get awkward, but you'll enjoy the day.
It may get awkward, but you will enjoy it. It's a just excited, guys. Like we have a blast with our listeners, and we're bigger fans of you than you are of us. Trust us. Super appreciative that you guys come and listen to us each and every week. It is humbling to watch this audience grow, that we have people that contribute to a Patreon, that people care that much to help us keep it going. We are going to start doing a collection this weekend for WD-40 for Baker's chair, which is, my God, is that thing squeaking the night.
And I had a natural lubricant, but they said I couldn't use it.
Please don't.
Well, you can also use swamp grease for.
No, we don't need any grease for any of that.
No,
we
no.
can use some WD-40.
This is a family show.
If we hit,
we try, but
if we hit 50 Patreons, I will buy a new chair. Okay, that's the goal. We're going to get one of the little thermometer thingies.
If we hit 50 Patreons,
Henry, you can color it for us.
$2 a month, guys. Remember, there's a lot of different tiers, but just 50 of you at $2 a month. Bake's getting a new chair. So let's check out this podcast. Right? Let's check out this podcast schedule for live podcasts. You're going to have Cryptid Campfire at 10:15, Bigfoot Society, our friend Jeremiah at 11:30, From the Shadows at 12:45. We're on at 3:15 in the podcast room, and then Jim Harold, the Podfather himself, will be there at 4:30 to finish off the day's podcast. And we had a great audience last time, which we thought they were there by mistake. but they were there for us, which was really cool. The movie schedule at 10:15 is going to be Cryptid Chupacabra, 11:45 On the Trail of Bigfoot, Land of the Missing, 1:15 American Werewolves 2, 2:45 On the Trail of Bigfoot, The Origin, and 4:15 Dogman Territory. Guys, important thing to remember that this is a cryptid paranormal conference. It's not just tied to Bigfoot, it's tied to all the mysteries and high strangeness that goes on that our friends catalog. So be proud to be weird. Bring your let your freak flag fly.
Bring your freak flag, exactly.
Just don't talk to me about your Dogman shit. That's save that for the Dogman people. You got Lyle Blackburn and Ken Gerhard there.
They're not the same guy.
They're not.
I've seen
Nick Redford will not be there, so that could throw things off a little bit.
the trifecta.
So you could say,
I think there's a cataclysm if all three of them are together. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
well, a curse. But guys, honestly, a ton of vendors. Don Keating will be there as the guest of honor, set up right next to us in the main lobby. So that's going to be phenomenal. We'll get to hang out with Don Keating all day, who I think it's great that Don's getting his due for really being the man that I think put Ohio on the map for a Bigfoot research. I don't say that because he's sitting next to us. I mean, I really do believe that. He might be the Bigfoot bulldog, but he started it.
And he'll have books for sale there.
Right. He will. Who knows what'll be announced there? I'm just looking forward to getting to be with our friends, the Fargiorgios. So many people. It will be a great time. Our next show that we have coming up will be in 2 weeks. That's going to be a follow-up to the Small Town Monsters event. And then after that, just stay tuned to our website, sasquatchexperience.com, for more information. We're going to be updating things a lot more regularly. It's difficult. Not going to lie, guys. It's when we're a very small team, as you see here, and we all have lives, so it's difficult to make it work, but we do a decent job at it. X is becoming the place to be. I know you might feel differently about Elon Musk, but it's been a great venue for us to grow our brand over there. So check us out on X if you haven't, Squatch EXP. The growth over there is pretty phenomenal. Some great topics coming up. You know, Jeremiah posted one a couple days ago. I just happened to see it. It's about to get a whole lot crazier with AI Bigfoot videos out there. Yeah. Be vigilant. And I just don't want to say AI, but I want to combine that with some pretty tantalizing social media that is partnered with it. So you get folks out there that really do a sensationalist kind of take on some of these videos, and they get a lot of clickbait, but not a lot of substance. There's a particular one on Instagram I'm not going to call out because I don't want to attempt to give them more attraction, because that's the stuff that pisses me off. However, it is something we're going to have to be cognizant about. Look at the railroad, footage from earlier in the year. Everybody thought that, the Bigfoot from the train. Look at the hoopla that caused. That was clearly a man in a costume, but it took a lot away from the actual research that we do. Henry, you alive? I thought he zoned out there for us. I thought we were going to send him some orange juice. Okay. Henry, what thoughts you got for us? Yeah, right. What thoughts do you have for us as we go into the end of this episode?
I think he's frozen. Oh, wait.
Well, I'm just glad that you guys are going to be able to. I'm glad you guys are going to be able to go to Monster Fest. I hope you guys have a good time.
Well, we're going to get you to one soon, Henry. We need you with us as you're an important part of the team. You've been with me from the beginning, so we got to find a way to make it work. Hey, before we do wrap up, we got a question from Carlene. Can I ask a question regarding a prior show? If you were being attacked, would you shoot?
If we're being directly attacked, as in it's coming at me full force and I have a weapon, hells yeah. Now, am I going to shoot into the woods that something's throwing rocks at me? No, because that's how you catch a murder rat. Okay.
Right.
If I see a bipedal ape-like creature coming at me full speed, he's either going to want to mate or kill. Yeah, I'm going to pump as many rounds as possible. And if I don't see that pumpkin head go down, I'm running. Okay. All right. Your turn, John.
Could you not be so blunt?
No, we like the bluntness. If it's coming at me, yeah, I'm definitely shooting the son of a bitch. I'm not going to play around. I think I'd have to be very clear that this is not a person in a monkey suit that's coming at me. But so if I give them a couple verbal warnings and they don't stop and it gets closer, I'm pumping them full of lead. Go ahead, Matt. Your turn.
21-foot rule.
Yeah,
but the 21-foot rule may actually be different if it's an undiscovered primate that we don't know if how much they could how much feet they can cover in that 21 feet. But the other thing too is, not really to kind of change the subject, but by keeping along in line of it, is a lot of my friends that are in the backcountry, whether they're up in Alaska, out in the West Coast, Canada. Well, not really Canada because they can't do that, but you got to carry a 10 millimeter or a 45. One of those two, they'll take down they'll do their best to take down a grizzly. But I think that a 10 millimeter or a 45, 10 millimeters probably my would be my go-to, and I'd be fairly confident that would inflict at least some damage there to a creature that's 6, 7, 800 pounds coming at me.
Matt's got it down to the lock.
What's that?
Too. Go ahead. Yeah. You got it down, Matt, to the lock. So, Vance.
Yeah, I have to agree, but I just saw the F around and find out.
Yeah.
And that's my motto. I have those signs posted around my house here. F around and find out, because I may pull something out of my bedroom that you did not expect. And I would bring them with me. And if something, big and hairy and 10 feet tall was coming after me, growling and drooling, and yeah, I'm squeezing. I'm absolutely going to squeeze at least a couple rounds off. And if nothing happens, well, then I'm going to get picked up like a baseball bat and slammed into a tree. So that's how that happens.
George of the jungle right there. Henry, what about you? What do you think? You going to shoot it if it's charging you?
We're going to get one of those little AI things for Henry.
I think Henry's frozen. So in Henry's world, he's just going to... It's not a grizzly bear, Henry. You can't play dead. Right, Henry froze on us, guys. But anyhow, folks, that's what we got for the night. We got a long week ahead.
I believe Henry's a shooter.
Check us out on social media. We'll catch you guys in a couple weeks. We'll see you this weekend in Canton, Ohio.
Yes, please come on out.
Bring your questions. We're ready.
Baker, go ahead and give him Henry's typical phrase there.
Well, the one I've adapted really well is, if you're investigating, think Bigfoot last. But his favorite is, it blanks my brain this thing I thought because I'm still thinking of Vance.
All right.
Y'all be good or be good at it.
There you go, folks. Keep
oh
on
my God.
watching.
You've been listening to Sasquatch Experience. Please rate and review where this podcast has been consumed. To share your experience, visit us on Facebook, our website, or email us info@sasquatchexperience.com. Keep on squatching.